This is the second video of 3 on how to prepare your car for ice racing in the CASC Ice Race series. This video describes the optional prep work you should do to protect your car from the rigors of ice racing. Many ice race cars look like they are one step from the wreckers, but there is a lot of work done in them. Because of the slippery conditions, bumping will occur. Deliberate hitting or reckless driving will not be tolerated. This is not a demolition derby. Please note, the work described in my first video is mandatory. Everything in this video is completely optional. The work in this video is intended to reduce the need for repair between races in the freezing cold. The car you will see in this video has a full roll cage and 4-point harnesses. This additional safety equipment is not required for the rubber to ice classes. Most of the racers do not have these. Eventually you will need to access the bodywork from inside the car, so remove the interior trim panels. Remove the door trim. Remove the rugs, they just get wet and in the way. Remove the rear seats. Remove the rear side interior panels. Leave the roof panel. It keeps the car quiet and warm. The doors are a common place to get bumped. The factory crash protection does a good job of protecting the center of the door. Wedging a 2x4 in the bottom of the door will help in the event you get bumped there. Screw it firmly in place. Buy a couple cans of insulating foam sealant. Use this to fill the gaps under the wood. If you can bolt the 2x4 to the floor across the car, like I did with my rear quarter panels, this helps protect that area. The center of my car is protected by my roll cage. However, some competitors will bolt some 2x4s across to protect the door pillars. Be careful when drilling holes that you don't hit the gas tank or brake lines. If there are other areas where you can wedge in wood and seal with foam, do the same. If your car still has its plastic inner fenders, great. You can fill the area above it with foam too. Unfortunately, on my car, this plugged the water drain passage for the heater intake, so I had to drill an extra drain hole. Any other holes I found in the body panels, I filled with foam too. Remove your bumper cover to check the condition of what's underneath. My bumper was in good shape, so I just added some foam to the gaps to soften any blows. However, there was no support behind the corners of my bumpers. It was only hollow plastic. My solution was to stack tapered 2x4s behind the bumper. Do whatever you need to ensure that your fender won't collapse if bumped. When I took my rear bumper cover off, I found what was left was completely rusted out. I simply made a new one by stacking a few 2x4s together and bolting them to the frame. The corners of the bumper covers can easily be torn. I wrapped sheet metal around them to protect them. The radiator is something you do not want to have to replace in the middle of winter. If the upper mounting bracket is weak, add a brace or two. Most cars are bottom feeders that will let in ice and snow that can damage the rad. It's best to cover these areas up. Just make sure there's enough gaps above this so the engine won't overheat. Make sure the antifreeze mixture is strong enough so it won't freeze. Change the oil and oil filter. Use synthetic oil. It can get awfully cold up in Minden. Give the car a tune-up if it's not running smooth. Check all your belts, especially the timing belt. Paper air filters are okay, but I've had them get wet and plug up, so I started using fiberglass furnace filters. My factory air box is long gone, so I just wrap the fiberglass around my snorkel. Check your brakes. Make sure there is enough pad material left, and more important, make sure they're not seized or sticking. If the brake fluid is black, change it. The parking brake is much more important than you may think. It helps to introduce oversteer when you need it. Make sure it's working well. Make sure your muffler and your exhaust system are well supported. Strapping and self-drilling, yes, self-drilling screws make this work a lot easier. Clean your windows and apply a product like Rain-X. It will improve your visibility when you get hit by wheel spray. This concludes the second video. The third video will describe some of the other things you should do to prepare for ice racing.